What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla SPY in the QQQ, talk about some very important tickers out there, what's going on with the data that's going to be dropping 15 minutes and 30 minutes after the market opens, what's going on with earnings and the news affecting Tesla. But before I break anything down about all these different technicals and all these things affecting the markets for the pre-markets, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Webull has extended this offer for another 2 weeks, so please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so looking at Tesla, this thing is currently down about 0.66% in the pre-market, looking relatively weak right now. But the question is, will Tesla continue to break below critical support, or can this thing bounce? It's going to be very dependent on the market and also what happens today. Just as a reminder, we have a very, very important day today. We have a huge day for the entire stock market. We have Amazon and Apple all announcing their earnings. And whatever happens to them will affect the market, especially for tomorrow and today during the after hours as well. So if these two slide after their earnings, the market could sell off more on Friday. If they start bouncing, we could get a bounce for Friday as well. So be very careful. But please remember that even if they do bounce, even if we do get a temporary bounce on like Apple and Amazon, even if these things try to push up a bit, it's going to be a temporary move for the market. The market's not going to just start uptrending again and just exploding. It's not going to happen, and most likely, the market is due for a healthy pullback, and we're starting to see many indicators of that. Now, just as a reminder, the market was extremely greedy before. Now it's just greedy, and it's slowly shifting more towards the left on the fearful side. If you just look at these indicators, the market momentum is extremely greedy. If you look at other things such as the strength index and etc., things are looking very, very greedy for the markets. The put to call ratio is still on greed mode, and we're still waiting for market volatility to actually spike upwards. It's just barely getting above the 50-day moving average. So that's another sign that the bears are getting an edge, but we're still waiting for this to really shift, and it is due to do so after seeing how greedy the market has been. In terms of earnings, we saw some of them decline. PayPal's down 8% after it just barely met expectations. And we did see a couple of other slides, such as like Roku, it got a downgrade from Citi. Etsy's down 9%, but a couple of others are green, such as Moderna. So it's kind of mixed, a little bit more like bearish, but not that horrible. I mean, PayPal, if anything, was like one of the biggest ones. Now it's kind of down. As far as the jobless claims go, basically these are aligned with expectations. This is part of why the market was selling off harder in the morning. Then it started to bounce just a tiny bit just a few minutes ago after this data came out. So this has been aligned. Initial jobless claims at 227,000, aligning with expectations. Same thing with continuing jobless claims. And now I just want to remind everyone that 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the S&P Global Services PMI coming out. That's going to cause some volatility. And then 30 minutes after the market opens, we have the ISM Services PMI report coming out. This is going to cause more volatility as well. So be prepared for some volatility. We're going to see it 15 minutes and 30 minutes after the market opens. And here are some more things to remember for the markets. We're no longer in a picnic. The market's starting to slide. We have Apple and Amazon earnings, of course, and now Diamond and Buffett are coming out and they're just shrugging the downgrade. They're saying don't worry too much about it. Basically, they also said that it's quite ridiculous. And once again, there's a lot of truth behind that. It is quite ridiculous. And I mean, like the timing of it and etc. This downgrade by Fitch, they're downgrading the U.S. long-term rating from a AA plus to like a AAA. This happened, and many people came out, such as Janet Yellen, that spoke against this, and they said it's quite ridiculous, and we shouldn't worry too much about it. I just want to note that this is part of why the market started to sell off, and finally, sentiment is starting to shift because of it, and new news should come out, in my opinion, that will affect the markets even more. Now, as far as Tesla goes, Tesla's range is being exposed already, according to this class action lawsuit, and this is more negative news about Tesla. I mean, no company wants these class action lawsuits and things like that. And on top of this, I just want to mention that the other thing that's making the news would be the investigation probe opened by the NHTSA on about 280,000 Tesla models over a steering issue. So that's another bearish piece of news. I mean, the news so far, it has been quite negative about Tesla. It's been negative news after negative news. So we will see if this continues. For now, I just want to mention that Tesla is continuing to do these things. They're basically continuing to do what's best for their company. And when it comes to their ranges, I mean, people are arguing that they're misleading. We will see what happens in the courts. But this alone is a negative piece of news. And we're going to wait and see if any more pieces of news come out after the market opens. But for now, things have been a little bit more negative. Tesla is selling off a bit in the pre-market. Now let's break down some technicals. So just as a reminder, on the 4-hour time frame, Tesla broke below the 200 EMA, which is a bearish signal. And now our next critical support is going to be very close to about this 252 area. So right about there, and if 252 ends up failing for us, we're going to likely see Tesla sell off all the way down to about this 250 area. So we're going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. Now, let me remind everyone that 250 is going to be a critical support for Tesla. If that fails us, then we have 247.5, and below that, we have 245.95 to 244.5. So the mid 240s will come after if we break below 247.5. In order for us to get there, we have to break below 250. Now, for resistance, you're going to be watching 252.9, 253.5, and then 254, basically the mid 250s, very close to like 255 or so is going to be our major resistance. And then we have 257.5 and beyond. But what do I think is more likely for Tesla? It is selling off right now after we got some negative news. I think there's a good chance we're going to see this thing retest 250, and then we're going to see if it could try to bounce or not, or try to like hold that area. Basically, the low of yesterday could be retested here after we formed this very, very nice looking trend. We formed a nice double top in the pre-market, we're starting to sell off. So we have a target very close to about like this 250 area. And if this ends up failing us, Tesla's going to slide even lower into like the 240 area. It's looking more bearish from a technical standpoint, but always be open-minded since we have Apple's earnings. And remember, even if we get a bounce thanks to Apple's earnings by the after hours today, so that's after the market closes, or even by tomorrow, it is just going to be temporary, most likely, because the market looks like it's due for a pullback. Now on SPY, I just want to mention the same thing. Basically, it's looking relatively weak. We're going to be watching resistance around 449.5, 450, 450.5, and then 451. For support, you're going to be watching 448.5, 447.5, and then below that, we have 446, which is where we have an unfilled gap. This is looking a little weak. You can see the market came down. It got a small bounce after initial jobless claims came out. And now the question is, how will this thing move going forward? I think there's a good chance it's looking kind of bearish right now. So it's going to retest like 448 or so, if not 447.5, then try to bounce off that and just trade very, very sideways. And then we're going to see a very big reaction after Apple's earnings. So watch for a potential bounce off like 447.5 maybe, and like a retest of the 448s, and the market continuing to slide a little bit. And then trade a little bit sideways after that as we're approaching Apple's earnings. I just want to note that. And then we're going to see once again a huge reaction in the after hours, if not going into tomorrow. For Apple right now, it's very, very much just sideways, going back and forth between 193. This is like 192.5, very close to that as resistance, followed by like 191.3 as its support. We could see this pop a little bit during like the intraday session, then slow down during the afternoon, or maybe get like a slowdown right before during like lunchtime, and then one more pop in the afternoon. But I don't think it's going to be that crazy. The chart's looking very stationary, so it's not insane to me, but it's just worth noting. The bigger move is going to come in the after hours. For the triple Q, you're going to be watching resistance around this 374.5 area, 374.92, 375.8. For support, you're going to be watching 372, and below that, we have 370 and then 368. Those are three important levels. What do I think is more likely? It's looking relatively weak. It looks like it's going to try to retest 372, and if it breaks, we're going to be watching 370, followed by 368. I think it's going to try to base around here, then just trade sideways after that. I think the odds greatly favor that. And then finally, for the people interested in Nvda, I know it gets a lot of attention from lots of retail investors. Nvda is looking relatively weak as well. If you're bullish, you want to see it retest 438, 439, and 440. If it breaks above 440, it has potential to go all the way up to about 444 to 445 between that zone. If you're bearish, you want to see it break below 435, 433.8. Then we have the previous support, which is going to become, or previous resistance, which is going to become support around 431. Then below that, we have like the 426. I know this isn't showing right here, but like around this 426 area. So basically around there, those are going to be some levels to watch for. The reason why I called out 426 is because on the 4-hour time frame, if we were to hypothetically break below like 430, we have this major support very close to 426.5 at the 200 EMA. It's worth noting, so I just wanted to call it out. But anyways, let's talk about some other like really important things. What do I think Nvidia is going to do? It's looking relatively weak right now. Going to be looking for a backtest of like 439, then potentially a retest of 433. If that fails us, we're going to be watching 431. And if that fails us, then we're likely going to see a retest of 426. Now, in my opinion, even though it's looking relatively weak, we're going to be looking for this thing to potentially base very soon and very close to like the 430 area. And we will see what happens after that. But for now, that's what NVIDIA is looking like. Please remain calm, cool, and collected and do what you have to do. All right. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you are ready for what's about to come to Tesla. Do what you have to do, and I'll most definitely see you guys later on for the next video. Tesla to the moon, as long term is still incredibly bright, no matter what anyone tries to say. And peace out.